Hello viewers, I'm Eemaan Khalil and today I'm going to talk about deflation. So first of all, before I get started, I want to talk about inflation, disinflation and deflation. So inflation is just a percentage rise in the prices of goods and services. And the opposite of inflation is deflation. Deflation is in fact negative inflation. It's like it could be negative 3%, negative 4%. Disinflation is just a fall in the price in inflation. If for instance inflation goes from 8% to 6%, that is disinflation because it's still positive, but it's just a fall in inflation. Now let's move ahead to deflation. So deflation is a sustained fall in the prices of goods and services. Deflation can either be caused from the supply side of the economy or the demand side of the economy. So when it comes from the supply side of the economy, it's called good deflation because it occurs in the wake of a rise in aggregate supply. Now what could that be because of? For instance, it could be because of advances in technology which cause the productivity of capital to rise, or a rise in supply, or an increase in labor productivity also causes an increase in aggregate demand because aggregate supply. So because the thing is when labor productivity is high, the cost of production are low and the quality of the product produced is very high. So this makes firms more able and more, they invest more, they also spend more on capital goods. Investment is very high. And that's really good for the economy because consumers will be able to enjoy more goods and services, and their standards of living will be very, very high, and the country will be very, very productive. Productive capacity will be high and also internationally competitive. Whereas when you talk about deflation from the demand side of the economy, that is because of a decrease in aggregate demand, that is not good because that is bad deflation. Bad deflation can cause downward spiral in economic activity because let's see how it occurs. First of all, consumers think that there is going to be a fall in the prices in the future, so they postpone their purchases, and as they do this, firms see that the demand for their products is falling, so they cut their output and they also reduce the number of workers employed. This results in unemployment and also lower output and further lower aggregate demand. So you see how perilous is bad deflation for the economy. What about the consequences? Well, good deflation, as I said, it could really, increase productive capacity. And what happens is that when good deflation occurs, the current account deficit reduces and the current account surplus increases if the demand for imports and exports is elastic, and if the fall in prices is not offset by a rise in the exchange rate. And that's good for the economy because during good deflation, we see a lot of positive sentiments in markets, and that's really good for the economy. So governments don't actually need to be worried about good deflation. It's just because of a rise in aggregate supply, and that's because of higher labor productivity, more advancements in technology, and that's really good. Whereas bad deflation is something that we should be concerned about. I know during deflation you'll get more bang for your buck, you'll be able to enjoy more goods and services. Well, that's not good for the economy. Bad deflation can reduce investment, and investment can also reduce productive capacity of an economy, and this can also imperil an economy's future economic growth. During bad deflation, the burden of debt is very high because now see, when borrowers borrow, they have to actually pay back more in real terms because the inflation rate is already low if bad deflation has lasted for some time. So during bad deflation, borrowers lose and lenders gain. So that's something that we must be aware about. Now, when it comes to tackling deflation, what should we do? Well, as I said, good deflation is something you don't need to be worried about. It's all good, and yeah, it's all good. You don't need to be worried about it because an increase in aggregate supply is good because it can make an economy more competitive, more internationally competitive. So an economy gets some kind of some kind of international power. It gets some international reputation, something like that. It becomes more export oriented also, and that's a good thing. But the thing is that when it comes to bad deflation, as I said before, we should be concerned because bad deflation, what it does is that the burden of debt is high, and during bad deflation, as I said, confidence is very low, burden of debt is very high, investment is at rock bottom, and consumers and businesses just don't feel to invest and spend. That means even aggregate demand starts falling, and that's not good. Now, what could be done during deflation? What could be done during bad deflation to, completely curtail it? Well, you could follow demand-side policies, which are policies designed to increase aggregate demand, and they could be expansionary monetary policy, expansionary fiscal policy. One thing that we must know that bad deflation is very hard to reverse because when governments go for expansionary monetary policy, if the bad deflation has lasted for some time, then then the interest rates might already be low. So there's no more room to cut them. That's the reason why we must always just focus on something called price stability, one of the prime macroeconomic aims of a government. Price stability means a low and stable inflation rate, and that's good. So a government should not focus on zero inflation or no inflation at all, because we must aim for price stability. Price stability means no deflation. It means a stable rise in the prices of goods and services. It also means more certainty in the economy, and it also means that we would know what's going to happen in the future, so that we take proper steps and plan properly, so that there's no rise in the prices of goods and services. Well, that's it for now. Thank you so much for watching.